So I recently made a video on TikTok talking about how I was stuck in an avalanche on a ski trip a few years ago. And a lot of people wanted to hear the story, but I didn't have enough time to tell you on TikTok. So here we are on YouTube. If you're new here, if you've never seen me before, my name is Be Me Queen. That is my internet name. My real name is India. And I am a skier, a tennis player, a YouTuber, a content creator, a traveler, all these different things. And since it is about to be ski season, I have been posting a lot of content showing people how they can get involved in the sport, especially if there's someone who was not raised as a skier or a snowboarder, or just now has the disposable income to be able to pay for the sport and try it out for themselves. I know a lot of people are becoming more and more interested in skiing, which I absolutely love, but I did want to tell this story. So to give you a little background about me, my first time that I ever went skiing was in the 8th grade. So I am originally from New Jersey, and I went to a state school that was state funded. So essentially we would get funding for a variety of things, one of them being field trips, and the major 8th grade field trip was the ski trip that was actually hosted by one of our art teachers. So she was really adamant about making sure that us kids had a chance to just try out skiing. So we went to the Poconos and we had a really great day. So we had an opportunity to take either a skiing or a snowboarding lesson. We had the whole day to, just hang out on the mountain, be with our friends. And we also had lunch. Of course, we're all 13 years old, so there were some injuries in there. I got to see if I have any pictures from this day because I remember it very, very vividly. I did try snowboarding and I was like, oh, this doesn't really feel like it's for me. And then I put skis on and immediately it just clicked for me and I was very, very good at it. Now, even though I had the best time with my friends in middle school on this trip, my family couldn't afford to go skiing after that point. It wasn't a part of our family activities. It was something that I just did that one time because I had that one field trip where that one teacher made it an opportunity for us to go. So from 8th grade through graduate school, I did not ski. Now, part of it was because I was a college athlete, so I played field hockey in college, and we weren't really allowed to play other sports just to limit as many injuries as possible. So when I got to graduate school and I started to work a bunch of side jobs, I earned enough money to be able to go on small little short ski trips back to the Poconos with my friends from college. And again, I was in graduate school, so I was going maybe once or twice a season with a few friends here and there. And it was for a day trip, or we would go night skiing. We would try to do anything that we could to kind of get tickets that were cheaper and get the student discounts and get the college kid discounts and, all those different things. So over the years, I've learned so much about skiing, but it wasn't until I was about to leave graduate school, move across the country, that I decided I was going to go on a black ski trip. And if you're new here, you're like, what the hell is a black ski trip? It is where black people come together to go to the mountains as a group and we all just hang out and have fun. And I came across this group on Instagram, I believe. They are based in the UK and the trip was actually in France. And it is so much cheaper, first of all, to go skiing in other countries. So if you're someone that's based in the United States and you're like, I want to go to Colorado, girl, it is so expensive to go in Colorado. You're better off taking a flight to Canada. You're better off, taking a flight to France. It is so much cheaper everywhere else, including the flight price. Okay. Because skiing is just so gatekept here in the US, especially in the West. So I decided that I was going to take this week-long ski trip to France. I did not know anyone that had gone on their trips before. I didn't know who was going to be there. I was just I just want to meet up with other black people and ski and, see, what it's like skiing abroad. Because up until this point, I had only skied in the Poconos, and I think that's it. Yes, I hadn't come to the West Coast yet. So yeah, up until that point, I'd only skied in the Poconos. I hadn't even gone to New York. So I was really excited for this. So I signed up for the trip and I went. There's actually a full vlog on my YouTube channel and I will pin it or, link it below so you guys can watch the vlog because we had a ball. Oh my gosh, it was so fun. I had so much fun because it was a mix of beginners. It was a mix of, experts. There was a mix of Americans. There were a mix of, British folks. And it was just so much fun. It was a week long and I just had the best time ever. And it's actually what convinced me to host my own ski trips for the following year, as an influencer. Anywho, back to the ski trip itself. So even though I had the best time ever, the weather that week was horrible. So it was right before Easter, I believe. So it was late March. So when we were greeted in different restaurants, we were meeting people, just talking to people in town, they were all like, oh, this is a terrible snow year. We didn't get a lot of snow this year. It's just been really bad. And I was like, well, there's still snow on the ground, so it can't be that bad, right? Girl, the next day, it starts snowing. And when I say it snowed at least 10 inches a day, like I have never seen that much snow. People were like, this is light. I was like, what do you mean this is light? Like, what are you talking about? And they were like, yeah, we haven't had this much, the whole season. Like this is like the most we've had all season, but also this is like the max that we've ever gotten. Like this is like, it's medium, like it's right in between small and medium, like it's medium. I was gobsmacked. I was like, are you kidding me? Like this is minimal amount of snow. Anyway, we still had lessons scheduled for this week. So as a part of the package that you purchased, the flight was not included, but the chalet, so like essentially like the Airbnb, right? That was included. It was some food that was included. We got lessons, we got rentals for the week, we got lift tickets for the week. I mean, it was like the most luxurious, most beautiful. Like you gotta go watch the vlog. It's an hour-long vlog. I'm sure you're gonna enjoy it. By the way, though, this was when I first started my YouTube channel, so go light on me, okay? I wasn't used to vlogging at this point. Anyway, so most of the days of the trip were terrible weather. And because we had hired a ski instructor, they were like, we can't really switch days because we have clients on other days. You guys are a group, so we just kind of like have to deal with it. So anyone who wanted to sit out could, but it was under the notion that, you already paid for this, so you might as well go kind of thing, right? So the first day I got injured and I think I ended up like hitting my elbow or something. It was something very light. And I was like, I think I need to take the rest of the day off because it was my first time skiing that season. So the first time I had skied that season was at the very end of the season, which is just like very unusual for me. So I was kind of like getting my ski legs back, even though it was the end of the season. And I got this like minor injury the first day. Second day though, I'm like, I'm good. I will brush it off. Like I can go to this lesson. Girl, when I say it was snowing sideways, I was like, this is crazy. And they were like, yeah, he's been teaching us how to navigate different patches on the slopes, because I'm not sure if you guys know this. First of all, there's different styles of skiing. So because I took lessons in France, I also ski like a European, which a lot of people will point out when they see me ski. They're like, you just ski so different. But when you're skiing in different conditions, you have to kind of navigate it as you're going, and you don't really know it until you're feeling it. So it's kind of hard for me to describe when I'm not really on the slopes. But essentially there were some icy parts. There were some like really powdery parts because there wasn't really great visibility. You had to really be like mindful of who was around you because I couldn't really see my hand out in front of me. Like it was a really, really bad condition. So that first day, it was pretty bad. This is now the third day, right? He came back, he gave us another lesson, and he's just like refining our skills, because I think that third day was actually really great visibility, as in it was clear skies, it was sunny, it wasn't snowing. It was like the perfect day ever. We literally had one perfect day of skiing and everything else was absolutely horrendous. Like literally every day else, it was snowing sideways. So anyway, getting to this avalanche story, it is the last day of the trip, and the resort that we were staying at was so big, they actually had an app to look at all of the different trails on the slopes. So it kind of depends on what resort you're in, where you're staying, like there's a lot of different factors that go into whether or not your resort will have an app, but typically they do. And typically I don't use them. Totally honest. I'm just being honest, right? I like to just go out, put on my skis, and just see where the wind takes me, quite literally. Like I will just go out and around, and then when I'm ready to go back, then I will look at the map that's at the top of the hill or at the top of the mountain, and I will find my way back to where I started. I'm not someone who will grab a map and start, going through and tracking every, trail that we've gone on and looking at every slope. Like, that's just not how I typically ski. And the people that I was with, they were also on the same thing. Like, they were like, yeah, let's just go on a random slope and then we'll find our way back when it's time for lunch. Like, that's just kind of how we did it every single day. Also, because of such poor visibility, it was like, we don't really know where we're going anyway, so why freak out about it? So anyway, on the last day, we were like, you know what? It's the last day of skiing. This is our last day for the lift tickets. Let's just make the most out of it and let's go skiing. Thing is, though, we had already kind of set up this brunch day for ourselves. So the guys that were a part of our group, they actually offered to make us brunch. I kind of tricked them into making us brunch, but that's not a part of the story. It doesn't even matter. Anyway, they were like, we're going to make you guys brunch. And we were like, okay, great. So they made up mimosas. They made I think it was pancakes and bacon and biscuits. I got to go watch the vlog again to show you guys, but the brunch was good. I'm not even going to hold. The brunch was pretty good, what they made. Okay. So the guys made us brunch and we were like, okay, we're going to go out later than usual because, we did have brunch. And we're going to put in our stuff and just go out for a few runs, really casual, really light, whatever. So when we first woke up and, had that brunch, we actually had an alert on our phone to say that it was an avalanche testing. And it's actually really common on some of the largest resorts and the largest slopes to have this avalanche testing, because the small man-made avalanches is actually really helpful for preventing uncontrolled, huge avalanches. So it is very, again, this is something very common that happens, that when you're, sleeping in your hotel or in your chalet or whatever, that you'll hear like a boom in the morning. And it's not all that, like, I'm a light sleeper, so I always hear it. But if you're someone that's a heavy sleeper, you probably have never heard it before and you're like, what the hell are you talking about? I promise you it does happen on most like major resorts, because there's just so many like mountains, so many avenues. There's just so much going on. They want to make sure that everyone that's skiing on the slopes is as safe as possible. So civil engineers will go out and they will have these small avalanches, again, man-made avalanches that are controlled for the prevention of big, uncontrolled natural avalanches. That morning we woke up, we got an avalanche alert, essentially like, oh, this is going to be going off. It typically happens before the lifts even start in the morning. So this is like before 8 a.m. kind of thing. Again, which is probably like, if you got drunk the night before and you're a heavy sleeper, you never have heard of this before, and that's fine. So that morning I woke up, I saw the alert. I also saw that a lot of the lifts were closed because there actually was just such bad visibility and such bad weather that day that they were like, we're going to do the avalanche on this side of the mountain, and then we're going to have these, lifts closed. You can only access a certain part of the mountain, which is like the lower slopes throughout the day. And we were like, again, not a big deal. We're about to go have brunch anyway. And maybe by the time brunch is over, it'll lighten up and it won't be a big deal. So brunch ends. And as we figured, a lot of the lifts and slopes were actually reopened. They were like, oh, actually the visibility is better. So, you can go out and ski wherever. So we go out, and it's a group of 3 of us. So it's myself and 2 other people. And we just start skiing. And as we're skiing, one of the guys who I hadn't really skied with him earlier that day, he was a snowboarder. I didn't really ski with him that much during the week, but we did like maybe 1 or 2 runs together. But he was a map person. Like, he was like, I'm going to track this app. I'm going to make sure that we're at the right places. And we were like, okay, cool. Like, you got it, dude. Just like very chill, whatever. So as we're going up on the lifts, he notices that some of the trails that would help us, get back down are closed. So it's literally as we're going up that he's seeing on the app that these trails are being closed. So we have to now change our route to go back down, to get back down the mountain. We were like, you know what? It's, again, not a big deal. I think there were over like 300 trails. It was insane. It was such a big mountain that we were like, this is minor. Like, it's really not a big deal, right? It gets to a point now when we get up to the top of the lift and all of the trails from that lift are closed, and the only way that we can go is up. So we're like, okay, that wasn't a part of the original plan, but we're all advanced skiers. So, all of us were doing like red and some even black slopes, which when you ski abroad, there's different levels to different slopes. So in the US, there's green, which is really easy, blue, which is the medium, and then black or black diamond, or sometimes double black diamond, which is like really more advanced. But in Europe, there's actually more levels. It goes green, blue, red, black, and then yellow. And then sometimes they have like the off-piste ones, which is like backcountry, like it's not actually a trail. So there's a lot more of levels when you ski abroad. And we were aware of that because we were all, advanced skiers. So we were all like, getting better throughout the week. And we were all skiing pretty well that week, even with the terrible conditions. So as we're going up, we're like, okay, we'll just go down the routes that are open at this point, because as we're going up the second time now, there are more trails that are closing, and we're like, oh, okay, we just have to figure our way out of this. So we start to go down on the rails that are open when we hear a boom. And the boom sounded so much closer than it had ever sounded throughout any other days of this week. And I was like, oh my God, the avalanche is as close as we can get right now. Like, we are not able to go anywhere because of this avalanche. And again, this was like a man-made avalanche still. They were trying to like control it because of how bad the weather was. But when I heard that boom, I actually looked around to see like what directions could we go in, and the visibility, I was losing it like by the seconds. And I started to actually lose where my friends were on this mountain. So we're like yelling and screaming and trying to like figure out how far the other person is from each other. We finally like get together and we're like, okay, the only way is down. We can't even see like our phones as we're like pulling it out. It's also really cold. And when it gets really cold, like freezing temperatures, your phone starts to freeze and it doesn't really work as well. I couldn't even touch my phone. I was so scared. I was like, somebody else figure this out. I'm gonna just sit here. I'm gonna try to be as cool as possible. I'm gonna try to chill. it wasn't even like snowing sideways. It was at a point where everything was just white in front of me. And typically when you're skiing down a mountain, and I have so many skiing vlogs that you can see on a clear day what the trails look like, but usually you'll see a huge pole that has this like yellow or bright red, like hazard light looking kind of like cushion around the pole so that you don't run into the pole. We couldn't even see the poles. We couldn't see the trails. We couldn't see the poles. I could not see my hand in front of me. It was bad. I remember that day I was wearing my green suit. So I had like a green top and I had these black bottoms and no one could see me. Like everyone's like, India, where are you? India, where are you? No one could see me at all. One of my friends, she was wearing a bright pink. No, she was wearing her black set that day. I don't know why we all decided to wear black that day, but I'm not even kidding. We tried to go down the mountain, and when it's really poor conditions, a lot of people will zigzag down just to kind of alleviate the crash at the bottom. So if you go straight down, you're going to go at a very high speed. You're likely to crash into somebody because you can't really see where you're going. You probably can't stop that quickly. It just isn't really the best way to go down a mountain or to ski down a mountain in poor conditions. So a lot of people kind of like zigzag to take their slow way down and actually be able to guide themselves and see where they're going. And that's kind of what we were doing. So we all like kind of got in a line and tried to go down. But the person in front that was leading us, the guy who was like trying to lead us, he's like, I can't see anything. I can't see anything. So we all just stopped and sat on the mountain. And it got to a point where I couldn't tell like how far, because we all kind of like stopped in different parts. Like we weren't like stopped very cleanly in that line. We all just like stopped, but very far apart on the mountain. And no one could tell where the trail was. No one could tell where the poles were. No one could tell if someone was coming, if someone was going. It was the scariest moment in my life. And I was like, I don't know how I'm going to get off this mountain. I genuinely do not know how I'm going to get off this mountain, but like the only way is down. Like, what else are we going to do? So out of nowhere, there's a blessing angel, heaven sent from above. Oh my gosh. It was this girl and her friend. And the one girl was wearing this bright pink, like, it was kind of like a collage. So it had like bright pink, white, orange, and like a royal blue color. And her suit, her pants was also a royal blue. And she was like, follow me down the mountain. I don't know how this girl could see. She probably had some type of different vision. I don't know. I don't know how she could see, but she was like, follow us down. So she's in front. Her friend is the second person, and we all just got in a line. And the only way that we could get down was by going together and going in this line. We were like a trail of like ducklings to go down this mountain. And once we got to a place where we were like low on the mountain and actually had visibility and could like see buildings and see people and see the trail and see, you know, other things, I swear that's when I started breathing again. Because the whole time I didn't think I was breathing at all. I was like, this is actually terrifying. After that moment, we got down to the mountain. I literally took off my skis and I started walking. I'm like, we're done. I don't care. I'm done. I don't care where I am on this mountain. I'm going to walk back to our chalet and I'm done. I'm wrapping it up for the day. So that was a story. How I got stuck on a mountain during an avalanche. But I'm not going to end the story there because I don't want people to actually be scared of skiing. That typically does not happen for the average, especially if you're a beginner skier. Like that is like not an average thing that happens. It's just like one of those crazy travel stories that I kind of have. But one of the few things that I learned, there were a couple of things that I learned during this whole scenario and situation. The first thing is that you need to be wearing bright colored clothing on the slopes, especially when there's poor visibility. And I was not at all prepared for that, like literally at all. I think that trip I only had one suit. Yeah, I actually did. I only had one suit because again, this was like the first time I had gone skiing that season. And also I wasn't skiing that often, you know, during this time. So I had one suit. It was black pants and it was like a army, it was kind of like an olive green jacket. And after that, I was like, I'm buying bright colors only. So I now have this like bright purple, but it's still like a lilac kind of suit, so you can spot me from afar. And then I most recently, and this is how the story even came up, if someone wanted to hear, I most recently bought this like cheetah print jacket so that people can see me. A lot of people, like beginners, the mistakes that they will make is they will buy like, you know, the really chic, like all white, all beige suit or the black suit, but you could very easily get lost because first of all, everybody's wearing black. And also if you're wearing white, you're literally in the snow. Like you're going to get hidden. And if you're someone that is doing it for the first time, you need to be wearing bright colors and you need to be visible to everybody so that no one loses you. Like I cannot emphasize it enough. If you are a beginner, wear bright colors. Wear bright colors, wear bright colors. The other mistake I made was not having the app. I feel like that was really obvious, but I didn't have it. I didn't even I did not use that app. I didn't download it. I didn't even pretend to like use the app. I was not on it at all. But I feel like if I had known how many lifts were closed in the morning, like if I was just like more aware of the situation, I would have never gone out there, to be totally honest. I would have never put on my skis that day. I'd have been like, oh, well, it's the last day. It is what it is, you know, and I would have just stayed in and just like chilled with everybody else. So, you know, it is really important when you're on a really big slope. I think like slopes like Courchevel and we were specifically at Val Thorens, they are just huge. They're ginormous. And there's just no way for you to know what's going on, but you do have to actually be aware of what's going on in other parts of the mountain because it very easily could affect you. The other thing I want to make sure I emphasize is that man-made avalanches are normal. That is something that normally happens on the mountain. So don't be like, oh my God, I'm gonna stuck in this avalanche too. Like most people that are skiing on the slopes never have that type of interaction. They never have that type of experience. And I guess I'm just one of the lucky ones that gets to experience that. But most people never experience that unless they are doing like back country, which is again another reason of why you need to have your news alerts on and to make sure that you're connected with other people. Again, the higher up you go, the less likely you are to have self-service, and also the colder it gets, the less likely you are to have self-service too. So I wish I also would have packed some snacks, because like if I knew I was gonna be stuck on the mountain, like I would have just like had a little snack while I was up there instead of like, you know, freaking out. But no, it definitely helps though to also be able to ski in groups with people, right? Never go skiing by yourself. I do see people that go solo skiing. I personally have solo skied by myself too. I only do it during the day. I only do it on days where there's great visibility. I did it one time, night skiing. I think I vlogged that too. I have a whole ski trip playlist on my channel, so you guys can check that out, like the different ski trips that I've gone on that have been crazy. But I think I did do a solo night skiing day, and I didn't like the visibility. I didn't like that I couldn't be seen. I did wear my bright suit during that time too, and it just didn't really work with me. So sometimes you just gotta go during the day. Sometimes you gotta really change around your schedule to make it work for you, because I know a lot of people who do like night skiing, but I'm just not one of those people that do, unless I like really want to go, but that's very uncommon that I would want to go that badly. But yeah, just be careful when you're solo skiing. If you're new, don't solo ski. Like go with the instructor, go with the group, right? And also be able to, like, if you're going to really like test yourself, like, because people will get very confident on those bunny slopes, and you know they'll probably even get a little bit confident on those green hills and those green slopes, and they're like, okay, I'm gonna go to the next level, but they don't necessarily know how to navigate their skis or their snowboard that well, where they can't like ski in a line, because that is really like the saving grace of what got us down that mountain, of being able to be in that group and like being the little school of ducklings to get down the mountain. So those are my major takeaways. Of course, always wear a helmet. I am a huge helmet advocator. I actually have a few videos on my YouTube, on my TikTok, about how to wear a helmet over your natural hair. Like, it always goes to show you should be wearing a helmet. Avalanche or not, you should be wearing a helmet at all times. I always recommend for that, and I always tell people to wear helmets. So yeah, if you guys have any other questions or want any more ski content this season, let me know in the comments below. If you like this story time, let me know by giving it a thumbs up and leaving a comment and subscribing, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.